Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show with Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury. I'm Todd Zalecki. It is Thursday, May 9th, 2024. The Phillies just snapped an 11-game home winning streak with a 5-3 loss to the Blue Jays on Wednesday. They left the tying run on second. They had the tying run on second base with one out in the ninth. A couple pop-ups ended it, but the Phillies are 26-12. They still have the best record in baseball. The Dodgers are hot now. They swept the Braves over the weekend. They pummeled the Marlins this week, and I think they're a half game back of the Phillies right now. And the Phillies have done most of this so far this season without a really super hot Bryce Harper, but we might be seeing signs of a hot Bryce Harper. Homered 3 consecutive games, Sunday through Tuesday. Last 4 games, he's batting .400, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. This is a guy who never sees pitches in the strike zone. Zach Wheeler was talking about it the other night, saying this guy gets nothing to hit. And you know, a guy like him just wants to hit so badly, so his patience is really impressed Zach Wheeler. And then JT Realmuto, I thought, had something interesting to say the other night in terms of Bryce getting things turned around. He said, you can tell in his takes how good he feels right now. I thought that was an interesting comment from JT. And you know, maybe that has something to do with it. What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so the big deal for me was who was going to protect this guy in the lineup. Like JT was protecting him early. They had him in the 4-hole. And Alec Boehm got super, super hot. And you could tell that at some point you just didn't know when Rob Thomas was going to make the move. He made the move. He slid him into the 4-hole to protect Bryce Harper. And I think from that point on, I think they almost had to start pitching to the guy, because if they didn't pitch to him, the next guy was going to pummel him. And I think the fact that I think there's a couple of factors here. I think he made a little minor adjustment with his swing, but additionally, and most importantly, he's got some protection now. You know, there's a reason why Trea Turner was doing really well, because he's got protection from Bryce Harper. Now Bryce Harper's got a little protection from Alec Boehm, because Alec is a legit threat for a pitcher. And you start backing guys up and protecting them, then I think you're going to start to see more pitches, get better pitches, and have more success. I'd like to think that the fact that I said he's going to be the greatest, Philly of all time, publicly, that got him going, but that is not the truth. Bryce Harper's going to be a great player regardless of who says what about him. But I think a lot of it has to do with protection, Jim.
Yeah, and going to that comment that JT said that his takes are good, I actually put some stock in that as well, because, a lot of times we judge a hitter by the result or by a good swing. Sometimes just a good watch can tell you a lot about how he's picking up the ball, how he's seeing pitches, how he's seeing spin. Is he got a good feel for the strike zone at that moment in time? And it appears that he does, because it's led to, 3 great swings on 2 3-run home runs and a grand slam. So Bryce, we talked about it all along that, Bryce hadn't even begun to fight yet. He was kind of, moseying along, getting his hits, but he hadn't gotten hot yet, and he's gotten hot. And no one is surprised. And, I often, over the years, I like to talk to Larry Anderson about pitching, and he would tell me stories about when he was a young minor leaguer in the 70s, that sometimes on the teams he was on, this is how baseball's changed a lot. Sometimes on the minor league teams he was on, there wasn't even a pitching coach. You'd have a rover come in once every 2 or 3 weeks, and you'd throw a bullpen and he'd make an adjustment. And in the rest of the time, you'd have to self-evaluate and try things in the bullpen. You'd have to help yourself get better. And part of the process in helping yourself get better was talking to your teammates. They would notice things. You'd pick up things from them. Trial and error. Hey, try this. See what you'd learn by speaking with your peers. And I was kind of reminded of those conversations with Larry when I was reading something you wrote, Todd, this week about Bryce and about his swing and about his production. that he kind of feels like this little hot streak could have been the result of a batting practice chat with Trea Turner. I found it fascinating. What did you learn from that?
Yeah. So after Bryce homered on Monday, Bryce, everything he says, he knows what he's saying at all times. And he made a point to say, I'm doing a little bit better laying off pitches out of the zone, recognizing pitches in the zone, doing damage. But I did have this little chat with Trea the other day, Sunday, before I hit that first home run. And maybe it helped a little bit. And so that kind of stuck out to me, and it stuck out to me because Johan Rojas had a similar comment about Trea Turner a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati, talked at length about this just great conversation I had with Trea Turner, and it meant so much to me that he would spend so much time with me, and that Trea was showing me videos of other players and himself to get me on track. And I went up to Trea yesterday. I said, so what's up with all these players talking about you and these conversations that you are having in the batting cage? And he kind of laughed. He said, and he said this probably 15 times. He said, listen, total luck. I have nothing to do with their turnaround. He's like, but I did have some conversations with these guys over the past, few weeks. And the one he said he had with Bryce was Bryce felt he was getting frustrated because he felt he was not able to get to the pitches that he wanted to hit in the strike zone, and he couldn't figure out why. And so Trea actually went and watched some 2021 video of Bryce. And because he says Bryce loves that video of himself, obviously, because he won the MVP that year. So he started watching the video, and then he started watching what Bryce is doing this year. And he said he noticed his hands were late. And Ruben, you could speak to that better than me, but I guess that just means either they got started late or they're late firing through the zone. And so he found himself missing some pitches. And Trea said, I think maybe your hands are a little late. And Bryce said, okay. And so it was funny because Trea says, now listen, Bryce is such a natural hitter that part of me was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't go out here and just suck tonight, because I gave him some advice. But so he said the first at bat, if you remember on Sunday, he had like 3 really good takes, and then he hit a rocket up the middle. It was an out, but it was like 109 mile an hour ground ball up the middle. The next at bat, he crushed a home run off of Logan Webb. And then Trea was like, wow, that was it. And then interestingly enough, Trea had another talk with Alec Boehm in St. Louis in early April. Boehm was off to a slow start, and Turner noticed a couple mechanical things where he was kind of sliding. I guess his front hip was sliding towards the mound instead of firing turning as he was swinging. And Alec Boehm got hot. So I don't know what's going on, but again, Trea, it was just funny because Trea did say this like a bunch. I'm just lucky right now. I'm on a crazy run right now. I don't want to take any credit for this. It's a crazy run, but it's that cool stuff that you hear inside the clubhouse that makes baseball fun.
So this is the beauty of what this ball club does and why they're sort of special, and how they really care. There are a lot of ball clubs and there are a lot of players in this day and age who would not care, who would let the hitting coach do, and the assistant hitting coach and the other assistant, let them do the work. These guys really care about each other, are watching, and they're observing, and they're helping. I got to tell you, as a player in the minor leagues, I had a good friend named David Esker. We worked on hitting all the time. We talked about hitting. He's now the head coach at Stanford. I actually got sort of lucky that I got sent back to a lower minor league level in Quad Cities to work with them, because all he did was observe every single one of my at-bats. And after every at-bat, we talked and broke it down. And it really, really helped me. We did the same thing when I was in the big leagues with Kevin Jordan. Kevin Jordan was a benchmate of mine. We talked about our at-bats. We threw BP to each other. We did it all the time because, frankly, at that time, Hal McRae, who was the hitting coach, frankly, he was working with Scott Rowland. He was working with Greg Jeffries. He was working with Rick O'Brien. He didn't give 2 craps about Ruben Amaro and Kevin Jordan because he wasn't making them the money. And so it was important for us to observe each other, what we did well, what we didn't do well. There wasn't the same video and there wasn't the same stuff that you could break down, but you could watch yourself and give yourself a good picture. And, we would do that with each other. I mean, I do it with friends on the golf course now, and I do it with Paul Holmgren and stuff on the golf course and good friends I work with, because you care about each other. And that's that's like the big difference that you see in this team. It's sort of an old school team where guys actually care about each other and want to help each other have success. And that's a really cool thing. And a really cool piece of information that you wrote about, Todd. And it's something that you love about this team and why they really do care about playing with each other and why they seem to gel so well.
And I also think it shows, I mean, the disappointment of 2022, losing in Game 6 of the World Series, the disappointment of 2023, losing in Game 7 of the NLCS. I mean, those disappointments still smart, and I think I'm sure they fuel this team and its drive to end this season with something other than disappointment, end the season with a victorious feeling in a World Series. So I don't think they care how they get it done or where they get advice from, where they get tips from, where they find their success. They're all in it together, and if it leads to where they want to go, then it's going to be they're going to be all ears, and it's going to be worth it. I mean, and it's great that, Turner's going to have probably 5 more weeks to make these contributions. It just shows you go on the IL, you're still a contributor.
That's why it was so important for me to, like, when Chase was down and hurt, I wanted Chase to be in the dugout. I wanted Chase to be around so he could help people, so we could observe and help. And I know he was trying to take care of himself, but that's why it was so important to have him around. You talk about the disappointment in 2007 when we got knocked out, like immediately. Guys were like, man, that ain't happening again. I saw it happen in Boston when the year that we all got let go. We got to the playoffs 2 years in a row, got knocked out pretty quickly. We all got let go. I know that those players, the Mookie Bettses and the Benintendis of the world and the Jackie Bradleys and all those guys, they wanted to get back to the World Series and win it. And that's the kind of stuff that sort of fuels you. If you have a cohesive unit, some of those losses can really help propel you to the next level.
Ruben, you mentioned Mookie Betts. That was another thing that Johan Rojas mentioned. He didn't mention it, but he said, yeah, Trea took the time out of his day to like pull up all these videos and show me all his videos. And I asked Trea, I said, so who were you showing him? He said, I was showing him a lot of Mookie Betts. He's like, I talk about Mookie Betts a lot because he is, what is he? He's under 6 foot, right? I mean,
he's 5'10". He's 5'9" or 5'10", and he's about 167 pounds.
Yeah. And he hit 39 home runs last season. So he said a guy like him, he does so many things right. That's a guy I want to show to a guy like Johan Rojas.
So obviously in the 2 years, he's one of my favorite all-time players and one of my favorite all-time people. But Mookie Betts, I used to marvel at watching him take batting practice because he could generate, because he had great hands, man. He could generate bat speed as well as anybody. Great athlete, but fast twitch muscles, all that stuff. But his ability to throw the barrel head was as good as anybody's I've ever seen in that size. Honest to God, Chase Utley was phenomenal as well. He's a little bit taller, had a little bit more leverage, and had great hands. They're different types of hitters, but their hands were just incredible. Jose Altuve, who's 5'5" or 5'6", great hands. You talk about, manipulating the barrel. These guys are special. And if Johan Rojas can concentrate, because he's got pretty good hands. He's got pretty good hand action. If he can do that and trust it, he's going to become a better hitter.
Well, it's really great to hear that. Trea Turner is a great player, but to hear that his contributions are now transcending the field and impacting others, that's got to be music to the people who signed that big check. It's got to be music to their ears.
Yeah, it's probably not great music to Kevin Long because those guys, because they work every day with those guys. Yeah. But it really, who cares?
I would say that maybe Rob Thompson and the coaching staff have created an environment, an inclusive environment where everybody feels comfortable speaking up. So I would doubt that's frowned upon. But it's an interesting point.
No question.
Well, it's funny. Kevin Long had been so Johan Rojas's thing, I guess, was that he was firing everything at the same time, and they were trying to break down his swing, start certain things at different times. And Kevin Long was talking about that in spring training, and Trea Turner basically seemed to almost reiterate that same point, but maybe just hearing it from a teammate, which you guys talked about, with the Larry Anderson stories and whatnot. Maybe that just resonated more with Johan. Just hearing it.
You think
I will tell you that there's no more impact. I mean, with all due respect to all the coaches I've had, there's a lot of impact on your peers, man. If your peer is caring enough about you to make a comment, and hopefully it's not a comment that is different from what the coaching staff is giving you, but it's something to help maybe bring something to light that he was working on, and to see it or to verbalize it in a different way so that you accept it better, then what the hell's the difference? As long as it gets it done.
Right. Bryson Stott played some shortstop. It was funny. A few hours after we talked about Bryson Stott, when's he going to play shortstop? He started at shortstop on Monday.
We are soothsayers, my brethren. Soothsayers.
Yes. So the question I'm wondering is, when does he start getting in there a little bit more? And he is heating up. Whit Merrifield is kind of heating up. Whit Merrifield, his last 9 games, batting .355, a couple doubles, a couple home runs. Bryson Stott in his last 9 games, batting .370, 3 doubles, 2 home runs. Edmundo Sosa, good defensive player, good utility player. I'm thinking Stott's maybe as early. Well, I shouldn't say this weekend because they're going to face 3 lefties, I think, in Miami.
Yeah, they are.
But maybe next week he starts getting in there a little bit more at shortstop, giving Whit a little bit more play in right at second base. That seems to be the way to go. That seems the way it's going to end up going, isn't it?
I think they're giving Sosa a little bit of a little respect here.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that's going to provide your best lineup. Now it's up to especially Merrifield to stay in there. But I think that's going to eventually, over this 5 or 6 week span, get a lot of looks. But we'll see.
Yeah, and I think, Merrifield has played, just having watched him in a short period of time, he's played a pretty solid second base, not a liability there. That's the place that he has played the most at, and I think he feels comfortable there. I got to believe that Stott's going to end up being pretty much the everyday shortstop. And I think you're right, Jim. I think Rob Thompson just given Sosa some love and giving him an opportunity. Hey, let's face it. When Sosa gets in there and gets opportunities to play, he always somehow makes an impact. It's pretty beautiful. It's a beautiful thing that the guys off the bench have actually, continue to provide some such sort of impact every time they get a chance.
Cody Clemens
just needs to be something small. Yeah, Cody's been great. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about too, was the Cody Clemens. I think there was a comment that Topper made I thought that was really spectacular for a bench player like myself, for the major league manager to say publicly, hey, when I got sent out, hey, this guy's a major league player. He should be a major league player. The numbers are working out such that he's not, but he's a major league player. When I hear that as a player, you're going, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so when I get a chance to play and come back and he puts me in the lineup, you're feeling pretty damn good about yourself. and he's contributing. And so I think that that's just brilliant stuff from Rob Thompson, man. I can't tell you how important that is. To hear that as a 26th or 27th man, to hear that from your manager who is making out the lineup every day and then giving you an opportunity, that's great stuff. And it can translate into W's, and it can translate into some production too.
It just shows there's more to managing than, putting on a sign, calling for an infield defense play or making out a lineup. You're dealing with human beings and you have to manage personalities. And part of that is building confidence, not BSing the guy, but there's ways to build confidence. And, sending a guy out the door saying, hey, it's a numbers crunch, you're a big league player. That guy goes to Lehigh thinking I'm the next man up when they need me, and I'm going to perform. It gives them a little booster shot of adrenaline and feel good. And that stuff works. That stuff works on the mind, and the mind ends up leading the body in a lot of cases.
You mentioning managing people, Jim. I mean, Rob Thompson's got to manage this Spencer Turnbull situation, you know, which is so tricky. The other night, Chris Sanchez comes out, he starts, and before the game, Rob's like, we have a plan. We have a plan. Now, a couple nights earlier, I asked, and I think we talked about this on the last episode when Taijuan Walker went out and pitched. It was starting the 7th inning. I was like, "What do you pitched Turnbull the final 2?" He's like, "No, when Turnbull comes out and pitches, we got to give him 3 innings. We need him to get 3 innings to keep him stretched out." Well, then I figured for sure Turnbull was going to come out and pitch 3 innings the other night when Sanchez starts, but then Sanchez pitches so good that Turnbull only gets the final 2. So. I don't know. It's going to be, it's a great problem to have, like we've said, but I think it's going to be so interesting to see how they keep him stretched out. Now, Rob has already said, listen, the good news is that we can bring Turnbull back earlier than we want, but that probably, if he comes back earlier than we want, or then, the next few days, he's probably not going to be able to follow up Sanchez again. And oh, by the way, we have to give him a long look within the next 7 to 10 days or 10 to 14 days to keep him stretched out. Otherwise, he's not going to be stretched out anymore. So Rob's got to kind of manage that as well, because Turnbull clearly wants to start. I mean, he clearly wants to start.
He's
saying the right thing.
You make plans in baseball and God smiles, brother. I mean, Sanchez comes out and just deals. And, you got to win baseball games. And you got to just let him go because he's efficient. He's pitching well, and he's throwing a 1-hitter or whatever, giving up 1 run, whatever the heck he was doing. Sometimes you got to make adjustments on your plan. I thought for sure after the 7th inning or after the 6th inning, he was going to bring a Turnbull in. He has a good inning. He throws it back out there. I'm like, holy smokes. And
do you think
that's awesome? I think it's great, man. He was dealing. I got to win this baseball game. Let him pitch. He's throwing a shutout or whatever.
Do you think Turnbull might not have been ready because as a starter, he required a little more time? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he called down and said, "I'm not ready."
Well, I think he started warming up, but even before the 6th, he started getting loose. I thought he was.
Yeah, he was out there early, but
right.
He was out there 25 minutes early.
Yeah, and he says it's going to take time to get used to it. He says he's not quite used to it. Obviously, it's only a second time in his career. He's only done it once his entire life.
Something will present itself.
Sure,
no doubt.
He'll get his
doubt. He'll get it. There's going to be a rain delay or something's going to happen. I know they're going to Miami and they're playing in the Dome or whatever, but somebody's going to blow up. But something's going to happen where he's going to get an opportunity in the next 10 days to pitch. And
good problem. Good problem.
Great problem. Are you kidding me? I would have died for those problems.
Going down to Miami, Nick Castellanos is from Miami. I remember last year he was terrible in July, and then they opened. I think they had like a 3-game series in early August, and he went home the night before. He said he hit in the cage till about 1:30 in the morning with his brother and one of his buddies. And he went back on a tear in August. So, Castellanos is had in last 8 games. Nick Castellanos batting .333, 3 doubles, 1 home run, .908 OPS. There's only 4 extra base hits of the entire season have come in the last 8 games. So now he gets to go home, see his wife, see his kids. Maybe he gets going against a terrible, terrible Marlins team. Terrible.
It's funny. When we last saw the Marlins, it was here in October. They had just earned their first playoff berth in a full 162 game season since 2003. To put that in perspective, Jack McKeon was managing them, and Miguel Cabrera was a rookie. So, and the Phillies swept them out quick.
20 years old.
Phillies swept them out quick, and I thought Kim Ng did a really great job kind of getting them moving in the right direction, got them in the postseason. Sounds like she wanted to continue to do a little more moving, and ownership said, no, not opening the wallet. She was moved on from after doing really great work, and they didn't sign George Soler, didn't even try. Now they've traded Luis Arraez and two-time batting champ. And obviously winning is not even on their radar. It's not a priority. So that's sad situation. They're going to be in a long rebuild. But nonetheless, the Phillies have to go there, and they have two challenges. One is the environment. It's very lifeless down there, especially coming out of Citizens Bank Park, where it's 38 to 43,000 people every night. The 4 hours of hell cliche or whatever saying. Going down there, it's 4 hours at the library. So you gotta bring some energy. You gotta conquer that challenge, and you gotta remember that there's kids over there trying to prove themselves as a big leaguer, and you don't want them to have their 3 best days as a big leaguer against you. So to win this division, last year the Braves I think went 9-4 against Miami. Pretty good, right? If you want to win this division, you got to clean up on Miami while they're not really trying.
Yeah, well, let's look at this. They're going to throw 3 left-handers at them.
Right.
Some of their best hitters in this lineup for the Phillies, left-handers: Schwarber, Harper, Marsh, Stott. Those are 4 very, very good bats from the left side that may be neutralized a little bit by the left-handers. And so that's a real issue. So the other boys are going to have to step up and provide a little thump in that lineup. The guys from the right side, particularly Castellanos, I know he loves home cooking and I know he loves being at home. That's big for him. But you have to be able to motivate yourself in these situations. I know they're coming off having lost. I think in some ways that one loss was sort of a good thing, because I think that they'll be hungry to bounce back and get another winning streak going. It was a game they probably could have won and didn't. They had opportunities at least to win, but hopefully that their mindset is where it needs to be so that they can play good, solid baseball down in Miami, down in South Florida.
Yeah, Jim has a story on the All City Network, allphly.com about that. You can read Jimmy. I love Jim. Jimmy had a great story last week on Alec Boehm and the I Love This Place t-shirt and just embracing that moment. That's, it's good to have Jimmy writing baseball.
Jimmy still writes?
He's
writing
still writes.
again?
He's writing.
I'm a typist. All right. So going to Miami, we've all spent a lot of time in 2 ballparks down there. But I'm going to guess maybe like the highlight for maybe all 3 of us in Miami. What?
I wasn't there.
I was there. I was there for the perfect game.
Yeah, the perfect game was amazing.
That moment was so spectacular for me because I was right there with my brother watching it. And right. I was with my brother, Ruben, my half brother, brother from another mother, and and younger brother. And we sat there for like the last 5 innings in the scouts box right behind home plate, watching Doc go to work. And I swear to you, we could not, he talks more than I do. And the dude did not say a word from like the 5th or 6th inning on. It was pretty funny, pretty cool. And it was an unbelievable moment when Castro made that one play in the hole, like a really tough play, like in between hops, spun. I'm like, oh my God, please make this play. And he did. I swear to you, I was in tears with my brother, hugging him, high-fiving him, loving on him. It was a spectacular moment.
So I kept sneaking into the back, 1 to get ice cream.
Shocking.
I remember that. Yeah.
And 2 to get a burger.
1 to get ice cream and 2 to watch the Flyers. They were playing the Blackhawks in the final. So I kept going in the back to watch the hockey game and get a little ice cream. And, all of a sudden, 20 minutes have gone by and it's already the 5th inning. And I'm like, oh, I got to get my game face on. Something big's happening here. So I get out my keyboard and start hacking a little bit. But, it was so surreal. And Joe Biden called him after the game. And I just remember the clubhouse. Everybody was so pumped. And the fact that it was like his 10th or 11th start with the Phillies, like it seemed like he had just gotten there. and then he does this. Truly amazing. It was, but you know, I've covered 2 World Series down there. A lot of really memorable moments, but that certainly, every time I go there, I think of that.
Yeah, so I mean, so 2 moments really stick out. Like, you know, it was pretty obvious he was sort of my white whale when I got my job as a GM and went to Dave Montgomery. So I really would love if I ever got a chance to get a player, that'd be the guy, because I've been watching him beat us up in spring training for the last 10,000 years, and acquiring him and watching him perform and seeing what he did in his very first game as a professional in a playoff game to throw a no-hitter, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Throwing a perfect game, also ridiculous. And it just made all those efforts to bring him to Philadelphia just so worth it, man. I think back on those moments, man, with great pride and a full heart, man, because he was unfreaking believable.
So good, man.
And Todd, you weren't there that night, but you did a pretty darn good job chronicling it all in the book right over my shoulder. Can you see that?
Yeah. That was
wait,
that was
that one?
Yeah. There we go.
Wait, that one?
That game, just talking to all those players, getting all their recollections of it, you know, was just amazing. You know, I remember Jason Worth and talking to him about what he remembers of that, and all those guys, you know, Juan Castro reliving that play. That's a play I made 1,000 times as a kid, you know, then, you know, through the minor leagues, I just practiced that play over and over and over, and actually have it happen in that moment. It was unbelievable. So I wasn't there that night. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I was at home at my old house in Roxborough, and the Flyers were on upstairs, and I was watching downstairs, and I was like borderline nausea, sick to my stomach, because I'm going like, listen, I probably will never have the opportunity. I covered the Phillies. This is my job, and I am going to miss. I think that was at the 20th perfect game in baseball history, or 19th, 20th at the time.
It was.
Yeah, and I'm going, I will probably never see this, and I am here. I'm here in my basement in Roxborough. Well, Roy Halladay's making history, but it was cool. It was cool.
Good stuff.
So Friday we've got Ranger Suarez versus Trevor Rogers. On Saturday it's Taijuan Walker. Jesus Luzardo is going to come back from the IL, and then on Sunday it's going to be Zach Wheeler versus Braxton Garrett. So we will be back next week. If you are new to the Philly show, please follow, subscribe, leave a like, or leave a review. I'm told that helps. Get it. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. We are available on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, TikTok, all these different places. So do it all. Tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell them to come listen to the Philly show. Talk to you guys next week.
Todd Pod, you mean?
The Todd Pod. The Todd Pod. See you guys.
Smell you later, boys.
Smell you, Jimmy.